Hello everyone, a very good evening and welcome to the second session of Website Making Challenge 2.0. And today's session is on JavaScript. And the speaker for today's session is Jimil Desai. He is currently a student developer and open source contributor at the Google Summer of Code 2021 with Sun HSF. He is a full stack JavaScript developer. He is a cloud native enthusiast. He takes interest in Kubernetes and Golang. And yes, so the Jimil bhai, over to you.
Hi, so thank you for the introduction, and yeah, welcome everybody to the JavaScript session that we have today. I'm really excited to take this session, and it's really nice to see this much participation. So let's jump right into it. I'll share my screen. Just a second. Okay, so is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, sure. So I just have a small presentation for you guys. Don't worry too much about this presentation. It's just to get to know you about the language, and I just want to tell you what's possible with it. Don't worry too much about it. We are directly going to jump into coding after I go over this presentation. Okay, so let's get started. So first of all, you are here to learn JavaScript. So what is JavaScript? I have a bunch of stuff written here, but you don't really have to understand all of this right now in order to start learning with JavaScript. I just want to explain about the language and what's possible with it, right? So if this sounds a bit gibberish to you, don't worry about it. You'll get to know about this as you start developing with JavaScript. Okay, so what is JavaScript? JavaScript is actually a high level interpreted programming language. What I mean by that, by high level, is that you don't require any memory management or low level OS stuff when you are programming JavaScript. All right, it is done internally. And then interpreted programming language. What I mean by interpreted is that many of you may be coming from C, C++, or even Java background. We need to compile those languages and generate an executable and then run the executable. That's not the case with JavaScript. It is directly interpreted, right? It conforms to ECMAScript specifications. What I mean by that is that ECMAScript has some of these specifications and JavaScript conforms to them. ECMAScript is actually JavaScript, but we also have some other scripts coming up nowadays. And then it is multi-paradigm. What I mean by that is multi-paradigm means we can write JavaScript as object-oriented. We can write it in a functional way. We can write it in object-driven, event-driven way. So there are a lot of ways to write JavaScript. And also one of the most important thing is that JavaScript runs on the browser side. So if you want to do any client side programming, JavaScript is a must, right? So why do you want to learn JavaScript? As I told right now that it is the programming language of the browser, right? If you want to do client side programming, JavaScript is a must. The browser only understands JavaScript, right? Next, if you want to build like very interactive user interfaces, right? If you want the add the interactive aspect to your website, JavaScript is a must, right? And also there are a lot of upcoming technologies like React, we have Vue, we have Angular. All those technologies or frameworks are built upon JavaScript. So it is really necessary to have the base of JavaScript in order to go into world of full stack developments. Nowadays, even we have JavaScript running on the server side. We have Node.js runtime, which enables running JavaScript on the server side. It is also even used in mobile development. You can use React Native. You can develop desktop apps. We have Electron.js. So actually, JavaScript is everywhere, and it's really easy to learn, and it is a lot in demand. So why not learn JavaScript, right? So about what will you learn in this course? So just a note that this is really like a crash course or really JavaScript for beginners. I'm not gonna go into too much details about internals of language. This will get you started with the fundamentals. I'll I'll start with variables, data types, and then eventually I'll show you things like DOM manipulation, selection, and then in the end, maybe we'll do something cool like form validation, right? So let's jump in. Now I'll show you I hope my code editor is visible. So, and also if you guys have any questions, you can write in the chat or maybe you can ask towards the end, whatever. Okay. So I hope this is visible. So let's get started. So let's say I want to add JavaScript to my HTML. So I just want to also say that I hope all of you have attended the yesterday's session about HTML and CSS, because some of the stuff that I'll show you requires the knowledge of HTML and CSS, and if not, you might not understand some of the things. So I hope you have attended the session. So let's say I want to add JavaScript to my HTML. So how do I do that? So in HTML, we have something called the script tag, right? Uh, Script tag allows us to write JavaScript. So inside the script tag, you can write JS code in here. This is one way of adding JavaScript. So let me just do something like an alert. Hello world. So alert is just an internal function that brings a pop-up. So if I show you here, I refresh this, we get a pop-up with hello world. So like you have added your first JavaScript code. So you can do this, or there's a better way to do this. That's what I prefer, is that you provide the link to JavaScript file, and then maybe just remove this and you have JavaScript file enabled here. Right. So now I have this main.js inside the same folder, and I have linked that in my HTML. And now you don't require any script apps or anything in here. You can directly just get started with JavaScript. If I do hello world in here, hello, there you go. You have your output in here. So not that you don't want to do alert every time. It's just messy and it blocks the input, blocks the web page. So we have something called console. You need a console, or you need something where you can output your JavaScript. So we have, every browser has something called as the developer tools. Yeah. So in Chrome, we have the shortcut like Control Shift I. What it does, it opens up a developer tools, and you have the console in there. This console is the JavaScript console. So whatever I want to log from my JavaScript, it shows up here, right? So if I want to do console.log, this will output in the console. If I do hello world in here and I refresh the page, you get your output here, right? Yeah. Just a second. You get your output in here. So this is really useful to debug your JavaScript. You can even do something like console.error. If I run this, it will error up. It will show an error, right? So that setup, now you know how to log and how to add JavaScript to your HTML. So let's move on to variables, right? So what are variables? So variables actually are just aliases that hold some data, right? In JavaScript, we can have variables in three ways, and that is var. We can declare variables with var. Then we have let, and we have const, right? So the difference between let and const is that let allows us to reassign values. Reassign. So if I assign some values to a variable, I can change it later on. I can reassign, but that's not the case with const. All right, that's the difference between let and const. And var is something that was used earlier in JavaScript, but with the later versions of JavaScript, it was. I don't suggest you to use var because it is global scope, and the and this, it can cause conflicts when you have same names, whereas let and const are just locally scoped. So if I have, let's say, some variable, I can assign anything to it. Let's assign one, and let me just print it, right? So this will show up in my console, and if I, let's just reassign this, to something else. So it does not error. It does not show any error. But if I change this to const, it's not going to allow me to do, because assignment to constant variable. You cannot do that in JavaScript. So when to use what? I'd suggest you use const unless and until you really know that you want to change the value. So for example, I have score here. You're building some kind of a game, then you need to keep it let, because you might have to change the score every time. So for the most part, you should use const and let. Okay, so let's move on to data types. So JavaScript, there are I think 5 data types that we have. We have strings. Strings are simple words. Then we have numbers. We don't have integers or floating points. Everything is a number. We have Boolean, we have null, and we have undefined. Right? Let me have some. So if you want to have a string, you just put it in the double quotes and you'll get a string. Let's have a number. Let's say we want to have a boolean. A boolean holds a value of true or false. You can have a boolean. So even if I do something like this, this is a decimal, but in JS this is always considered as a number, right? And then let's have an undefined value. So if you want to check the type of data, you can easily do using type of keyword that we have, which gives us the type of data. If I do name and refresh, we get a string, right? And if I do rating, it should give us a number, right? We don't have boolean. And if I do y, because I have not assigned anything to y, so it gives me undefined, right? So just want to talk a bit about string now. As you let me. So if you want to, let's say, concatenate or have some output which has a combination of 2 or more strings. Let's say you want to log something like uh, my name is the name variable and age is my age variable. So how do I do that? Is by just having this. I can just use the plus sign to, just a second. Uh, to output the values, right? I forgot the plus here. If I print this, as you can see, we get the output like this. But when you have a lot of variables, this can be really painful. So we have something called as the template format, template string. You can use this backticks, and what you can do is you can add variables like this. You can use a dollar sign and you can use a parenthesis, and then you can add your variables, and you can do like age, right? If I refresh, I get the same output. And I showed you this because when you move on to Node.js or you move on to full stack applications, you're gonna see a lot of template strings. So you don't have to worry about them. These are just a way of including variables into strings, right? So that's just a way of writing, right? So now you know about data types, right? I, if there's any question, you can ask in the chat. Okay, let me check. Okay, so let's talk about arrays, right? You know about primitive data types. So let's talk about arrays. So what are arrays? Arrays are actually just variables that hold multiple value, right? So a variable can have more than one value. If you want a variable to hold more than one value, you can easily use an array, right? And the way to have arrays in JavaScript is there are a couple of ways. One is called the constructor, right? What it does is you take in, you declare a variable and you use the new keyword and the array keyword. What it does, it declares an array, and then you can add whatever you want. So let's do this. And if I log this, I get an array in my console, right? As simple as that. But most of the time, you're gonna see people using something called set brackets. So what they do is they just have these brackets, and they you can basically add anything in here. So let's have string, any strings in here. Okay, and if I just log this, right, you get your output of the array. The cool thing about JavaScript is that if you're coming from Java C++ background, this might be a bit baffling to you. Is that you can have any data types in it. It's not Java is not statically typed, so you don't have to have any same type of variables, same type of variables in it. So you can have even Boolean inside of this, right? And it does not care, right? So also, this is how you can declare arrays. And if you want to access an array, let's say you want to get this value. So how do you do that? So that is really simple. You can just do uh, access the index using this square brackets. And since arrays are zero based, so this is the 0th index, this is the first index. If I refresh this, I get oranges as output, right? And you can even add values in the array by just doing this. By fourth value, say grades. And let me just refresh this, and adds to the last. But see, you're not going to know the length of an array every time. So how do I add to the end of the array? So we have a method called push. So what does push do is adds value to the end of the array. So if I do this and then I log this, see it gets added to the last. And we also have, if you want to add to the front of the array, we have the unshift method that can add values to the front of the array. Right, gets added to the front of the array. So there are a lot of methods in array that you can use. You can look up the documentation of JavaScript if you want, and there are a lot of operations that you can do with arrays. And these are the operations that are commonly used when you are going to build a real world project. So it's useful to know a bit about what each of these functions or methods that what they do, right? So now we know a bit about arrays. Now I'm going to talk about a really important data structure that we have inside in JavaScript, which is objects, object literals, right? So in JavaScript, objects are actually just key value pairs. So you can have objects by declaring a variable like you do with any other data type. And if you want an object, you just need to have these parentheses, and inside that you can have any key and corresponding value. So you can have like a first name and you can have the value in here, right? If you want the last name, you can have the value in here. And then you can even have numbers in here. You can even have arrays in here, right? So you can add anything in here. You can also have objects inside of an object. So you can even have something like this. I don't know. You can have city. Okay. So let me just print this. There you go. This is an object inside of in a JavaScript, right? You can, and like if you want to access anything, if you want to print the first name, you can easily do so via the dot operator. If you do this, you can get the element inside of that. Print this, you get my name in here. right? So this is pretty simple, and you can even, if you want to access arrays, you can do something like hobbies of one and print sports. And if you want to access add object inside of an object, that's also simple. You can just do address dot string and get the output there. So I think objects are really important in JavaScript, and it's good to have knowledge about that. And I just want to talk about something called destructuring, because this is something you are going to see a lot. Now, what if I want to have these variables, these fields as actual variables, right? I want think of this like pulling data out of the object. So I can easily do something like this. I can use this parenthesis and put this equal to person. So what this is going to do is that it's going to pull this data out of the person and assign it to first name. So if I just log this, we get the output. This is really useful in the sense when you're dealing with real world data, you have objects with lots and lots of fields. And if you want to access some fields, it's doing like using the dot operator can be really tricky. So in that case, you can easily use destructuring. Even if you want to access objects inside of an object, like if you want city, what you can do is you can have like do it like this. So what this does, it pulls out city from the object, right? So this is really handy, and this can be really useful uh, going forward. Right. So now you know about objects, you know about arrays. Let us do something with um, arrays of objects. Right. So we can have arrays of objects. So what is an array of object is just a simple array, but instead of having primitive data types like string or numbers, we can have objects inside of an array. So let's say I have this to-dos array of objects. So it is an array. So I have this square brackets, and then I have inside objects. Objects are declared by these curly braces, right? Let's say we have an ID. Let's say we have a text, take out trash, and let's say we have a boolean inside this. You can have any data type inside this. Let's say true. Let me just copy this, right, and change the ID. Let's say meeting response, and I don't know, 10 disappointment. Let's say. Right. This is an array of objects. And let me just log this. If I refresh this, you get here an array which consists of an object, which consists of the object, right? You can see each field has an ID, text, and the boolean value that we have, right? So now as we are discussing about arrays of objects, really quick, I want to talk about JSON, right? So what is JSON? JSON is JavaScript object notation. So JSON is actually just a data format that is used a lot in full stack development. Whether you want to communicate with your backend, or you want to have some stuff pulled from the backend or from a database, a lot of JavaScript, full stack JavaScript apps use JSON to communicate between the two, right? You can receive an object, receive from APIs, make calls to APIs. All those are using JSON. So it is used a lot in full stack development. That's why it is really, really similar to array of objects. So let me just show you the difference between JSON and this. So let's go to the JSON. So I paste my, this is my array of objects in JavaScript, right? So if I want to convert this to JSON, this is what we get. right? The only difference is we have this field, we have these codes around each and every field. That's the difference in JSON. And most of the time, if you want to talk to some backend or do some processing, you need to send data in JSON, right? So what if I want to convert this data into JSON in my script and then maybe send it to a backend server, right? How do I do that? So that is actually really simple. You can use the JSON object. So if JavaScript has a JSON object which has a function called stringifier. So what this does, it takes in the array of objects that we have here to do, and it converts it into JSON. Okay, right. There you go. This is our JSON that the script converts it into the JSON. You can see we have the codes around each and every field. So you can do this and maybe send some data to some backend and do some further processing, right? So I thought this is very useful moving forward, right? So, and this is about the JavaScript objects. So let's talk about briefly about loops. Yeah. So let's say I want to loop over this object. I want to loop over each and every object and maybe then do some sort of manipulation, right? How do you do that? So in JavaScript, for loops are really easy. You have this for keyword which is going to loop over n number times. So it has a variable I, and it can go up to certain limit that you can define, let's say 10, and it increments on every step. So if I just for example log this and refresh this, you get 0 to 9. It starts from 0 and goes until 10 and then moves up, prints every time and then moves out of the loop. So what if I want to loop over this object, right? So each array has a field called length. So we have a field called length. So what length gives is actually the length of this array. So in this case, it will get loop 3 times, and then we can do something like how we access arrays. You can do to dos of I, and maybe you can print some text, right? So it prints out all these values in the I console. So that is really handy, but you can even have a better way of doing this is to use a for of loop. So for of loop is similar to that, but instead of having an integer and going over the loop, we have an object. So it we can have an object to do of to do's, and we can just access to do like it is an object. We can do like this, right? Console.log. Okay. Okay. So this is okay. It prints out all the values in here, as you can see. So this is the way you can loop over the arrays, right? So I hope now that you have a brief idea about variables in JavaScript, and you know about briefly about arrays and objects and how you can convert them to JSON and do stuff on it, right? So now I'm gonna talk about functions in JavaScript. Okay. Like if you have any questions, just let me know via the chat window. Okay. I'm just assuming that you guys are getting what I'm saying. So in case of, let's start with functions. All right. So what our functions are is just actually reusable piece of code. So if you want to do something n number of times, you don't have to write it n number of times. You can just write it once and maybe call that piece of code, so that in order to reduce your time and reduce and make it more modular, right? Functions help in making your code modular and cleaner. So let's say in JavaScript, we can declare functions using the function keyword. Let's say we want to add numbers, right? And it takes in a parameter. So actually takes some input, processes it, and gives out an output, right? Let's say num1 and num2. Let's just log. So this alone would not do anything. As you may see, we need to first call this function. So we can call this using just the name and the parentheses, and you can do something like this. You can pass the data in it. So if I refresh, we get the output here, right? Let me just, if I don't pass any values, it's gonna give me NaN. NaN is not a number because it does not have any data. What you can do is to make your code a bit cleaner, you can define values in here, right? These are default values that you can have. So if I don't pass anything, it takes in the default values, right? So most of the time you don't want to console.log something. That's not functions. What you can return something, right? You can return one plus num2, right? And if I call in, let me just log this. Right? So what this will do is will log the value out. Right? I can it returns the output which is 9 and then it prints out 9. Right? So this is how you can use functions. It is that simple to declare functions. Now there is one more way you can have functions which is also used a lot in JavaScript. So don't get confused if you see something like this. This is called the arrow function. An arrow function, just a different way of defining functions. This, so you can have the name of the function, just kind of like you declare variables, and then the parameters. So you can have num1, num2, and then you have an arrow, and then you can have your simple functions. So it can return this, right? So if I just log this, it's gonna give me 9 because I have the same number. And the good thing about this is it's really simple and precise. So if you have just a single statement inside a function, you don't even need this parenthesis. You can do something like this. So what this is going to do is it takes in two numbers, and what it does, it returns the sum of this. So if I change this, I do this, refresh, I get it. So it is a really cool and simple and precise way to write functions in JavaScript. So you can use either one of them. Most of the people prefer writing arrow functions, but it's the same, and don't worry if you see either one of them moving forward in JavaScript, right? So yeah, that's about it in for me in the basics of JavaScript. So if you have any questions, you can ask, or else we can move on to DOM, right? The DOM is really cool. So, okay. So let's move on to DOM. So what is DOM? DOM is actually, it's a, let me just show you. DOM is document object model. So what it is that every web page has a DOM in it. So every HTML is represented as a tree structure. All right, this is a really great way to understand DOM. So DOM, every web page contains a document object which has all the HTML elements. So all the HTML elements that you learned about, be it head, be it title, be it body, they are represented as a tree inside of a web page, right? So what JavaScript can do is that we can access any of these elements and change them using our JavaScript, right? So you have defined an HTML file. Now you can dynamically change them using JavaScript. That's what makes JavaScript really the interactive aspect. You can change this on user actions. You can do stuff like grab onto events and really make your website interactive using DOM. You can change stuff up, right? So in my case, I have some predefined code. Just a second. So I have this predefined code that I wrote. So this is a simple HTML file. I hope you understand HTML. It just has a really H1 tag with JS for beginners. It has a container class which contains all the form, right? It has a form which has a label, an input for name and email, and it has a submit button, right? A simple submit button. And let me just remove this for the time being, right? And if I just refresh this, so this is what we have, right? Really simple, nothing fancy in here. We have, as I told you, we have this form element and it has a name and it has a email and we can submit, right? Simple. Now let's say we want to grab something, right? So every browser actually gives us some, let me just log a document object, right? Oops, right. A document object contains all the HTML that we have inside of this, right? And using that document object, we can grab onto any of the stuff that we have. So let's say I want to, let's say I want to grab the form, right? So a form, this form has an ID called my form. So how do I grab onto this? So we have something called as a single value selector. So what this does is select a single element from the DOM. So we have a function called get element by ID. What this does, and it takes in an ID. So I want to have this my form. If I take this and just refresh this, so it gives out this element, right? So in JavaScript you can grab onto any elements that you want. There is another way, and which is I think the which I think you should use is something called as the query selector. You can use document.get element by id, get element by class, but there is something better called query selector. So what does query selector do is this using this you can only grab elements by ID. If you want to have class, you need to use different function. But in case of query selector, you can select anything. You can even select the tags, HTML tags. If I refresh this, it gives it outputs this HTML tag, right? So it's that simple. So I suggest you use query selector instead of get element by ID, because this is really similar to something that we have called jQuery. It's not jQuery, but it's really similar to that. And I suggest you use query selector instead of get element by ID. Right? You can even select multiple elements. So I have these three list items, right? In my, yes, have these three list items. Let's say I want to select all of them at one go. So you can do that by, we have a function called dot query selector all. It selects all of them. And see, you can even select classes using query selector. So the class is item, right? So if you want to select classes, you can just do dot item. So if I refresh this, it gives me a node list, right? For each and every element. So this node list that it gives out, it's an, you can consider that as an array. It is really similar to array. So all the methods that we learn about the array, you can easily apply on this node list, right? You can even use, let me show you the old way. You can use the get element by class name and do item, right? So if I refresh this, it gives out an HTML collection. So HTML collection is not an array. So if you need to do some kind of an array operation on HTML collection, you need to manually convert it into an array. So like that's why I suggest you always use query selector or query selector all to select the DOM elements in your JavaScript from your HTML. Sorry, right? So this way you can select elements from your HTML, right? So like let's talk about manipulating the objects, the DOM, right? So now you know how to select stuff from DOM. Let's say how do you manipulate the object? So let me just get rid of this. So let's say I grab this. I want to grab these items and maybe perform some kind of operation on these lists. Let me first grab the UL or query selector and what is dot items, right? And I want to just remove this. So we have a remove method. So whenever I'll refresh this, you see that is gone. So you can easily manipulate stuff from DOM. You can remove this. So let's say now I want to change some text. I want to change this to some other text. So you can easily access the child element. So let's say last child element. So this is the last child element that we have. This is the last one. And let's say I want to change the HTML. So you can dynamically add HTML. So you can have HTML tags in here. And let's do hello world. See, this text is dynamically rendered. You can like even change the styles, right? Let us say I want to change the color of this button, right? So you can do that by see. So if you want to grab the button has the class btn. So let's just grab that. Okay. Document dot query selector, and we have dot btn. So I want to change the style of the button. So you can use dot style property. Style dot background. I want to change the background of the button. Let's change it to red. So whenever I refresh this, it's going to change it to red, right? So might be thinking, why this I have a CSS file that can easily change the color. I can set styles through CSS. Why do you want to do this stuff using JavaScript, right? That is because we can have events and functions in JavaScript. What do I mean by that is we can make this really interactive. So if we can make things like if the user does something, we want to change the style. If the user does something else, we want to render some different HTML using the inner HTML. We can easily do that, right? So let's talk about events. So what do you want to do is like event is something like what user does, and event we can add event listeners, right? What event listener does is we can attach event listeners to certain elements. It actually takes in two things. Takes in the event. So what event what event it's listening to, and second we it takes in a function with a parameter of the event, right? This function is fired whenever that event takes place, right? So let's see this in action. Let me remove this. And let's say we want to do something whenever the user clicks on to the submit, we want to change some stuff up, right? So first of all, we need to grab that, right? Grabbing the element is important. So let's grab the button using the document dot query selector dot btn, right? I have the button, and now I need to add an event listener. So we can add event listener using the keyword using this function called event listener, and the event is click, right? We want to do something on click. So This is the first parameter, and second parameter it takes in is the function. What do we want to do when this whenever someone clicks, right? For the time being, let's just console.log. So whenever I click, okay, so you notice that it really flashes really fast and goes away, right? Uh, that is because I forgot to write this e dot prevent default. So what e dot prevent default does is actually it prevents the default behavior of the web page. So this is a submit button, right? So what the submit button does is the web page actually directly submits whatever data is there in these two fields, and it refreshes. So if I don't add this, it's gonna refresh every time I click on this. So it really flashes really fast. So if I have added now, I click this. Okay. So there you go. So you have a click. So now if you have added a event listener to this submit button, when I click this, you are going to get this. Again. So now let's say we want to change. Let me change this background. Right, background. Whenever I click this, I want to change this background. So for that, and to change the background of this my form, right? So I need to grab the form first. So let us do that. Query selector, we have the form. So my form, and I want to change the background. So you need to use the style and the background, and you can add any color in there. Let's do this. Whenever I click this, notice that it changes. So like this way, you can add events to your attach events to HTML elements and do stuff. Like even I can. It's not just click. You can even have like if you want mouse over. What this does is whenever I move my mouse over this submit button, it's going to change the background color. It's this function is going to be fired. A lot of events that you have, like mouse out. So I move and then I move my mouse out, it changes. So a lot of events that you have that are provided by default by JavaScript, you can look that up and you can basically do anything. Now it's up to your creativity to do stuff, right? To make your website interactive, right? So now you know about event listener. So I think this is about it for DOM. And finally, let's do something like something really cool. So what we want is whenever I click this button, I want to I want the user to enter something in here, and whenever I submit, it should show up here. And whenever a user does not enter one of the two fields, it should display a message, right? Please enter both of the fields, something like that. Okay, let's do. It does not require anything fancy. It will just consist of the stuff that we have looked through up until now, right? So for that, first we need to grab the form. We need to do something on submit, right? And the submit button is inside of the form, right? So let's first grab the form and store it in a variable, right? Equals document dot query selector, and we want the form ID, right? This will get us the form, and then what we want is whatever the user is entering in this field for that to display here, right? So for that, need the field ID. So we have this input field with the ID of name and email field with the ID of email, right? For that, let's grab both of them as well. Let's make this name input, and this has the email input. This is name. This is the email, right? Yeah, I have a question. I'm sorry, I just looked at the. Okay, so you asked about the second parameter. So this, oh, I'm sorry. Let me just get it back over here. I have it written. Sorry about that, I did not look it. Right, so we have this. So this parameter is actually it is a second parameter. So as I told you that we have this second function. So this would be fired whenever this event occurs, right? And E is actually just an event. So it is the event method function that is given to us by JavaScript. So it has various properties, right? So it is this would be fired whenever this event occurs, whatever I'm defining, right? So where were we? We're talking about the form. So now we have both of this. Now we need to add an event listener, right? So we need to do some stuff whenever I submit. So again, let me add the event listener, add event listener, and we want to do on submit. So this is a submit button that we have. Right. As you can see, this is a submit button. So submit event would be fired whenever I click on the submit button, right? And let's just have a function. I'll just show a different way. So you can even do this. You can have some function name here and then declare the function, right? On submit. Takes in the event E, and first thing we need to prevent default, right? So this is what we have, and let's just test it out. I want to check name input if it prints out or not. Let me just refresh this. So let me get rid of this. So, if I enter Gmail, okay. So what does it do? It prints out the entire HTML tag. So this is expected because we want it gives out the DOM, the HTML tag, right? So how to get the value is we have the dot value property. Each tag has a dot value property. And I refresh this and then I enter my name. It gives out the value, right? Simple as that. So this works. So now what I want to do, perform some kind of basic validation. Like I don't want to submit unless both fields are filled out, right? So for that I need a if statement. So what I need to check if name input is empty, right? So this is an empty string. So we are checking if name input is empty, or so these symbols represent or we have the email input, which is name input dot value, right? We want the value, we want to check the value. This is empty. Then let's say I just alert, enter both fields, right? So if I refresh this and I submit this, so it gives a pop-up, enter both fields, right? So as I told you earlier, I don't like alert because it blocks the entire screen. I don't want this. So instead of that, let's have some kind of a message in here about enter both fields. For that reason, I have this empty div with class of message, right? So let's add HTML in here dynamically, right? Via JavaScript. What we can do is first we need to grab on the element as always. Let's select we have the class as MSG. So dot MSG, right? What we want to do is MSG dot inner HTML, and then we can have please enter both fields. So if I refresh this and do this, there you go. We have dynamically rendered HTML based on some event, right? You can even add classes dynamically. So see, we have a class called message. So I have a style defined in CSS dot error on this class. Let's say I want to add that to the message element, right? So I can even do we have a property called class list, and we can add a new class to it, right? So if I refresh this, and so you can have something fancy like this. And also, like, let's say I don't want this here the entire time, right? I want to make this disappear after a couple of seconds. Let's say I don't want this to block the view. So you can, JavaScript gives us a function called set timeout, right? What this set timeout takes in is, first it takes in a function with what you want to do after the timeout, and second value is the time, how much time in millisecond, right? So it takes in a function. What I want to do is I just want to remove this element from the DOM, right? And let's say I want to do it after 2 seconds, right? Takes in milliseconds, that's why 2000. So let us check it. I think this should go away. Yeah, see, so you can even do something with timeout and have stuff, right? So far so good. So we have our validation in place. Let me check. Okay, okay, it's not working. Okay, let me move on. But so let's say we have done the validation. Okay, so now what I want to do is add this. So for that, whenever I add something, I want it to be displayed here. So for that, I have this UL, right? This unordered list, and inside that we can dynamically add the li tag, right? That's what we want. That's what we hope to do. So for that, you need to create an li, right? A list item, so that it prints out in a certain bullet points. So for that, you have a method called create element, right? And we want to create li. So using JavaScript, you can even create elements. Li. And now we want to add the text to the li. So we have this child method wherein we can add a text node. So to add a text node, you need to use create text node, and then you can add any text. So I'm going to use template string because, and let's add name input dot value, and let's add uh, email input dot value, right? Like that. What this does is it creates a new list item, and it adds this text node to it, right? It adds this to it, and we need to add this to this unordered list. So in order to do that, we need to first get this unordered list. So let's grab that first. So let's say user list, document the query selector, and we can add using the, I think it was user, yes, user. And we just need to add this to the user list, right? Dot append child li, right? And let's also just clear the fields. Let's make a name input dot value equals this, and email input dot value equals this, right? So I think this should work. I don't know. Let's say, yeah. So see, now it creates a new list item, and it adds to this user list item, and it dynamically injects that into the HTML. So we have this HTML. It actually, just like we have this, we have statically defined here. So on click, it will create a new list item in here that's done by our JavaScript code, and it would add the following text to it. So name that we grabbed from here, the email that we grabbed from here, and it prints out like this. So also notice one thing, whenever I refresh this, goes away. Now that is expected because you're not using some storage, right? If you want that to, if you want that to not go away, you need to use some kind of a persistent storage, or you can connect this to some kind of database or a backend and do stuff. But currently it will not store, right? So submit, right? You can even add like more values. Yeah, you can. This was just an example of how you can use just a couple of things that I thought about query selector and add event listeners, and you can do something really powerful. So if you know JavaScript, basics of JavaScript, you can really use your creativity and really build beautiful websites. Seen people build really great website with just vanilla JavaScript that we have used right now, right? And this would also help you further in if you dive into React. You don't have to deal with all of this stuff like the DOM that is actually provided by the React library, but you need to know about JavaScript and its basics to get started with those frameworks. I think that should lay out a good foundation for you. So yeah, so that's about it from my side. I hope that you guys did learn something of value in this session. And yeah, you can ask questions if you want.
Also, feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions, and the chat is there.
Yeah. You can also ask questions. If you have questions later on, you can always ping me and ask questions. That is also fine.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Once they start working on their projects, they might start facing errors and doubts.
Yeah.
So guys, just 2 to 3 announcements. The first announcement is that by tonight we will allot or email you your problem statement, that so that will be done by tonight. So from tonight you can start working on your projects. The second thing is that the next session, the session 3, is on React.js, and the session is on 1st July 4 p.m. That is Thursday, day after tomorrow. So we'll also email you the details for the session later. And yes, feel free to ask any doubts if you have. Otherwise, that's it from our side, and thanks a lot for joining.
Just stop sharing. Okay, so you can ask me anytime you want, right?
Yeah.
That's not a big deal.
Jimal bhai, thank you for the session. It was amazing, very much insightful, and
No
it
problem.
was fun. It was just great.
Thank you for the opportunity. This was my first time doing this, so
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry if
It's
there were
our
any
pleasure.
mistakes or
No,
anything.
it was flawless. No mistake. It was
Alright.
flawless. It's our pleasure.
Okay. Thank you for having me.
It's great. And